Tropes. You may not be familiar with the name, but in truth, you've already seen them countless times without realizing it, for tropes are the building blocks of stories. And cliches are quite often merely groupings of tropes that have become trite through overuse and poor execution. Now, it is important to remember that as a writer, whether you realize it or not, you are employing numerous tropes throughout your story. And for every trope that can add luster to your plot, there is another that can tarnish it, if not handled with care.
Well, this is a cliche.
Greetings, good storytellers. I'm the Artful Narrator, and it is my privilege to welcome you to learn the tropes of writing. To say that today's trope is well established at best, and tragically cliche at worst, is in itself not a sterling revelation. However, given its prominence and prevalence, I feel that it well behooves us to take a look at how to deconstruct the Dead Parents Trope, and discern when its use is in fact a benefit to the plot, or merely an unwelcome intrusion.
Have you ever known what it is to be an orphan?
The origins of the Dead Parents Trope can be traced back into antiquity and holds a strong place as a staple in fairy tales. Because of this, stories that draw inspiration from fairy tales, or even seek to retell them or update them, often continue to propagate this trope. The reasons for the existence of the trope are well founded, for characters who have lost one or more parents can be seen as more sympathetic, and also may be forced to grow as individuals, developing the skills they need to more or less fend for themselves in a harsh world, all of which greatly benefits a coming-of-age narrative.
He is an orphan boy.
And it sometimes is a useful thing to be an orphan boy.
It is hurrah for the orphan boy, hurrah for the orphan boy.
And indeed, there are many stories that justify the death of one or more of the parents. Stories that work hard to weave the death into the actual story structure and narrative, rather than just using it as a minor and quickly glossed over plot point. Among these stories are classic archetypes, such as tales of revenge and justice, wherein reside illustrious individuals, the likes of Hamlet, whose story was motivated by the desire for revenge against the man who killed his father.
And so he goes to heaven, and so am I revenged. That would be thought on. A villain kills my father, and for that I, his sole son, do this same villain send to heaven.
The Princess Bride, wherein the murder of Inigo Montoya's father motivates the character throughout the movie, and has the added bonus of allowing Inigo to say the legendary line,
"Hello! My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die."
and for a well-executed superhero equivalent.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive. When I was a child, I saw my mother killed by something impossible. My father went to prison for her murder. Then an accident made me the impossible. To the outside world, I'm an ordinary forensic scientist, but secretly, I use my speed to fight crime and find others like me. And one day, I'll find who killed my mother and get justice for my father. I am the Flash.
Yes, like many cliches, the Dead Parents Trope is a cliche because it works, and has worked many, many times. However, there comes a point when it becomes so easy an option to employ that one must ask themselves if they perhaps are doing their protagonist's story a disservice by not striving for more originality. For the sheer number of stories where the hero has dead parents is so staggering that the simple alteration of having a hero with living parents can go a long way towards setting it apart from the crowd. In fact, I contend that a healthy number of these stories could have gone along just fine with the parents still alive, and that, in many cases, the Dead Parents Trope may have been used merely as a matter of course, without respecting the stereotype that it propagated. Consider these fine and rather rare examples of stories where the parents were spared by the writer's quill. The black and white classic TV series Leave It to Beaver, wherein the titular protagonist got into a legendary number of shenanigans throughout the show's run, and while his parents certainly helped him to learn and grow, they were nowhere near an obstacle to adventure.
Hey, Beaver, what are you doing?
Trying to get this piece of wood unstuck from Dad's tire.
Well, wait a minute. Maybe it's... Boy, Beaver, now you did it.
Yeah, I guess I sure did.
One of my personal favorites, Back to the Future, wherein both Marty's parents are not just alive, but in fact integral to the plot. And finally, Disney's Hercules, who not only has two mortal parents, but two godly ones as well. And all of this from a Disney film, no less? I'm gobsmacked. See now, the presence of a mother and father in those plots hardly seem to hinder the adventure in the slightest. Another possible reason for the prevalence of the Dead Parents trope is the fact that some writers may not wish to take the time to have to write the parents into the story as characters, which is understandable given the amount of world building that some stories require. To this, the simple answer is, if you do not want to write them, then don't. This is your protagonist's story after all, and so whatever their parents are doing is irrelevant to the narrative. And again, it is needlessly wasteful to explain their absence by saying that they are dead, when you can just give a throwaway reference if necessary, that they are, oh, I don't know, living in Florida.
Ronald, thanks for coming all the way down here to help us move Kim's grandma into her new home.
No problem, Dr. P. Rufus and I are happy to be here in the Sunshine State.
Yes, I will not deny that revenge stories greatly benefit from dead somethings. But, then again, does revenge always need to be motivated by death? What I'm talking about is exploring other avenues of creative thought, for there are oh so many possibilities. Maybe the protagonist was framed for a crime that he did not commit, and then wrongfully imprisoned like the Count of Monte Cristo. Possibly he was tricked into signing up for a medical procedure to cure his cancer, only to instead end up getting turned into a regenerating mutant with a face that looks...
yeah, like I got bit by a radioactive Shar-Pei.
Or perhaps his house was wrecked and his rug ruined just because of a case of mistaken identity, which then motivates the protagonist to embark on a quest for justice. Because, let's be real here,
that rug really tied the room together, did it not?
Now granted, the tragedy of the dude's rug might not be as emotionally moving as a mother's death, but compared to the vast sea of plots that use the Dead Parents trope, I will wager that the fate of the rug was at least more memorable. And in the end, is that not what we wish our stories to be? Memorable? So, now that you have some cause for thought as to why you should not use this trope idly, we are left with a question. Would its inclusion in your plot, in fact, be beneficial? In the end, whether you choose to use the Dead Parents trope in your story or elect to go a different route, at least now you can do so confident in the knowledge that you have made the choice consciously, and that extra care can help turn your use of the tropes from cliché to creative. And if you're interested in learning more on tropes, my good friend Deadmaster Zero has a new series that I think you will enjoy, entitled DMZ Talks Tropes. Links on screen and in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that this video has been informative, or at the very least, a pleasant diversion. Until next time. All of which greatly benefits a coming-of-age narrative. What do you think about it, Boots? I know I moved her bed. Okay, sorry, I'll move it back. Boots is glaring at me because I moved her bed to use it as a pacing stop.